Before there was the skyline, before the steel, the lights, and the endless hum of the city we call Chicago, there was one man, a man of African descent, born in the Caribbean, who braved storms, racism, and war, and laid the first foundations of what would become one of America's greatest cities. His name was Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable. And yet, for over a century, his name was nearly forgotten. Who was he? Where did he come from? And how did a black pioneer become the first non-indigenous settler in the land that would become Chicago? This is his story. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable was born around 1745, though his exact birthplace remains a mystery. Some say Saint-Domingue, modern-day Haiti, a French colony powered by brutal sugar plantations. He was the son of a French sailor and an enslaved African woman, a union that would make his life both privileged and precarious. As a mixed-race child in the 18th century, du Sable would have walked a thin line between the freedom of his father's world and the bondage of his mother's. Historians believe his father, seeing potential in the boy, took him to France for education. There, du Sable learned languages, navigation, trade, and diplomacy, skills that would one day make him a frontier legend. But as Europe's empires expanded west, new opportunities and dangers arose. The New World was calling. In the mid-1760s, a young du Sable sailed to New France, the vast territory that stretched from modern-day Canada to Louisiana. But by the time he arrived, everything had changed. France had lost the 7 Years' War, ceding control of much of North America to Britain. Du Sable, now a man without a country, became what we might call today a global citizen. He traveled down the Mississippi River, working as a trader, interpreter, and craftsman among both French settlers and Native American nations. And it was there that he met the people who would shape his destiny, the Potawatomi. In the wilderness of the Great Lakes region, du Sable found more than trade. He found love. He met a Potawatomi woman named Kittihawa, sometimes called Catherine. The two married in a native ceremony, forming a bond between two worlds. Together, they had 2 children, Jean and Suzanne, and built a prosperous life along the waterways that connected the frontier. To the native nations, du Sable wasn't just a trader. He was a friend, a bridge, a man who respected their culture and lived among them as an equal. He spoke multiple languages, French, English, Spanish, and several indigenous tongues. And his trading post became a center of peace and commerce in a region often torn by conflict. But fate had grander plans. Around 1779, du Sable built his permanent settlement at the mouth of the Chicago River. Long before there was a city, long before the name Chicago appeared on maps. His homestead was impressive for its time. A large log house, barn, mill, blacksmith shop, and trading post. He traded furs, grain, fish, and tools with both Native Americans and European settlers. And soon, his post became one of the most important commercial hubs in the Northwest Territory. Think about that. The first building in what would become Chicago, one of the largest cities in America, was built by a black man of Haitian descent. But while du Sable thrived, the world around him was changing fast. The American Revolution had ended. The frontier was shifting hands. And war, once again, would find him. During the Revolutionary War, the Great Lakes region was a volatile place, a patchwork of alliances between the British, Americans, and indigenous nations. Du Sable, as a French-speaking black trader, was viewed with suspicion by all sides. In 1779, he was arrested by the British at Fort Mackinac, accused of being a spy for the Americans. He was later released, but the experience left scars. After the war, new settlers flooded into the territory. Land was no longer free, and peace was fleeting. Still, du Sable held on, maintaining his trading post and reputation as a man of honor and intelligence. But by 1800, perhaps weary of conflict or sensing change, du Sable sold his property at Chicago for 1,200 livres. It would later be resold for millions. He moved first to Peoria, Illinois, then finally to St. Charles, Missouri, where he would live out his final years in quiet obscurity. In 1818, Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable passed away, almost penniless. No grand monument marked his grave. No city official remembered his name. For decades, Chicago grew, its skyline rising higher each year, while the man who built its very first home faded from memory. It wasn't until the 20th century that historians rediscovered his story. Black scholars, local researchers, and community leaders pieced together records, oral histories, and maps, proving beyond doubt that a Black man was Chicago's founder. Today, his name adorns DuSable Harbor, DuSable High School, DuSable Lake Shore Drive, and DuSable Museum of African American History. Chicago, the city of big shoulders, finally remembered the man who built its foundation with his own, who was Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, truly a traitor, a dreamer, a man caught between worlds, French and African, European and indigenous, free and enslaved. He was all of these things. But more than anything, he was a builder, a man who turned wilderness into community, a man who proved that greatness has no color. In an age when people of African descent were enslaved, silenced, and erased, DuSable stood tall, carving a place not just for himself, but for generations to come. Today, when you walk through downtown Chicago, past the skyscrapers, along the lakefront, beneath the shining skyline, remember the man who first saw this place not as a frontier, but as a home. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, the forgotten founder, the first Chicagoan, and the proof that history's greatest builders are often those history almost forgot.